What's up, guys? Hope that you're having a beautiful day. And today this video is gonna be about ayahuasca and the possible dangers that it has. A lot of the people, when they're coming to a retreat, they ask me, they say, hey Nico, but what are the risks? Can I end up in a worse place than where I was from doing ayahuasca? Can I affect my mental health? Can I die from it? You know, these are all very mindful and clear questions, and they're very relevant because it's something that we don't know. But the biggest question that comes over and over and over is, can I go crazy? Can I lose my mind? Can I stay in the trip? Can I never come back? And I want to answer this by first sharing with you an analogy. Somebody asked you, are knives dangerous? You will say yes, but it depends who is using them, with how much experience, with what purpose. The fact that they are dangerous doesn't mean that we're going to stop cooking for the rest of our lives, right? Somebody asked you, are motorcycle or race car races dangerous? No doubt, this is what makes the sport exciting for the people who watch it. However, there is a danger that it's contained. There's a special place for the races with special precautions, medical staff on site, engineers, a lot of people checking constantly how the motorcycles are doing, right? A different thing would be to be racing on the street by yourself or with somebody else, with nobody to come and rescue you or help you if things don't go the way that you planned. And it's the exactly same way with plant medicine. Is it dangerous? Yes, but that depends a lot on the context. The context of where you're doing it, with whom, where you're at before the journey begins, the container, the experience of those leading the ceremonies in the container. And I'll explain this by telling you a story, which is perhaps the worst way in which things could go, and the worst story that I have heard from someone that I met actually in this path. And it starts with this guy, from a young guy from the States, from Texas, I believe. And he came to ceremony for just a night last year. And what he was looking for was just another experience, another trip, in his own words. He came to a general ceremony in a medicine house, and I will share a little bit about this, about why just going to a general ceremony by yourself may not be the best thing to do, because there's no preparation, there's no integration process, because maybe there's a lot of people and you don't get the attention that you need, especially if it's your first time. So anyways, this guy was traveling through Colombia, and somebody invited him, somebody told him, hey man, there's this ayahuasca ceremony happening on Friday, you want to come? And he came. But the headspace where he was at was one of just exploration and recreation. He had had an experience that for him was very meaningful, a time that he took mushrooms, LSD, smoked weed, took some ecstasy, and then a little bit of ketamine. And apparently in his trip, he had a very profound experience that invited him to get to know himself a little bit better, a little bit more. And the problem with this was that he was not very clear about what ayahuasca was. He came to the ceremony, he drank the medicine, and he didn't see much. The next morning, he's walking around with a bag of ketamine, saying, "Hey, this ayahuasca thing didn't do anything. Let me show you this real medicine. Let me show you the good stuff." And waving around a bag of ketamine. And I felt really sad for him. And I was feeling very weak because I had a strong process. But had I been in a different kind of headspace and body space, I would have had a conversation with him and kick him out, because that is very disrespectful to a space of ceremony, a space of healing, a space where many people come to let go of their addictions. To see someone walking around with a bag of drugs, telling them that this is the good stuff, it's just not very fitting. And I could see that his energy was just one of recreation and exploration. Nothing bad with that, but it was fueled by the desire to feel more and more. 1 year later, I find out through somebody else that this guy was in the hospital, diagnosed with bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, I believe, because he decided to buy ayahuasca brew, I think in Peru or somewhere else, where they sell it like selling candies and popcorn on the streets. So he bought the brew, he went to his apartment, he drank it by himself, and then he decided to smoke another medicine. I think it was Wachuma or Buf, smoke DMT, in the middle of his ayahuasca experience. And he had been diving deep into a lot of the conspiracy theories around the coronavirus situation. And his trip turned very dark. And in this darkness, he lost control of himself, or he thought there was something else inside his body that was telling him that he had to help humanity, but to help it, he had to leave his body and work from the energetic field. So he thought it was a great idea to slice his wrists open and kill himself, so he could die and help the universe, because they needed him in energetic form and not in his human shape. So of course he ended up in the hospital with very serious injuries. He almost dies, and he had a very heavy, very ugly mental disorder. And he was writing to this person that we both know. He was warning against the use of ayahuasca and how dangerous it was, how bad it was, and how bad of a trip it took him on. And of course, no doubt, these are the stories that make it to the news, to the front paper. What I want to share about this experience is that there are many things that he didn't take care of that led him to have this experience. The first one was respect. Whether you believe in spirits, whether you believe in energies, or whether you believe that this is just a chemical compound, it is a brew that has the power to really change the way you see the world momentarily, change the way in which your mind works, the way in which you feel and experience this life. And that deserves respect. And respect just means that you acknowledge it, you see it, and you accept it as something powerful, something sacred, something with the potential for a lot of good, but also the potential for a lot of bad. And from respect comes the second thing, which is preparation. To prepare for a plant medicine ceremony doesn't mean that you have to be enlightened and healed, and then only then you can drink the brew. No. It's called medicine because it's really good for those who are sick. And sick can be physically, it can be mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it can be anxiety, depression, addiction, disconnection, numbness, many things. Preparation doesn't mean that your life is sorted out and then you come here. Probably if your life was perfect, you won't be considering about doing ayahuasca. But preparation means that you have taken all the cautions and talked with someone who's had experience about how can your mind and body be in the best possible place for the experience that you're about to have. Another thing is, imagine that you are doing something for the first time, playing with a very, very delicate knife. Would you like to do it next to a surgeon that has dedicated his life or her life to working with this specific tool that can tell you and guide you in case you're going in the wrong direction or in a direction that might hurt you? Or would you rather do it alone, or do it just with friends in a house, or do it with someone that you heard has good energy and has 1 or 2 years of experience facilitating? Then you will probably want the person with the most credentials, the most experience in this area. So this is why it's important to do it in a place where people have experience. A lot of times we judge or dismiss the ancestral wisdom because we don't know it. We think that it's just a drink, you drink it and what happens is up to you. And a lot of that is true, but there are a lot of things that the natives from the Amazon experience over hundreds, maybe thousands of years working with this plant. They explored and felt everything that can go good and well, and also the things that can go wrong, you know. They learned how to tune into the needs of the person. What amount is good for each person, depending on where they're at. What to do if someone drinks a little bit more than they should have, or if their mind starts acting in a way that might be traumatizing. And through trial and error, these tribes, these cultures, developed a way, a science of how to work with these plants. So this is why it's important that when we decide, or when you decide to drink ayahuasca, you do it with someone that has been trained in these traditions. Here in Colombia, in the medicine house where I assist and where I bring my clients, the shaman or the shamans, a lot of them started drinking the medicine since they were 6, 7 years old. So they've spent a long time apprenticing. Their parents or their masters were experienced shamans. 50, 60, one of them over 100 years old, that have had enough experience of what can go well and what can go wrong. And from this experience, they have taught their apprentices over long periods of time, 10, 15, 20 years, before they're allowed to give the medicine on their own. So it's important that we go to a place where we can feel safe. And it's a lot easier to feel safe when we trust the container that is being held. When the shaman, when the person in charge has dedicated their life to the work with this medicine. Because that means they understand it. And that means that if something starts going the wrong way, they can guide me through it. They can bring me back. And this leads to one of the last points, and it is the container, the space. In ayahuasca, there's a lot of energies that move through our body, through the environment. So it is very important that the space in which we explore this medicine is a consecrated one. It's a space that is dedicated to do this work. I'm sure you can feel at home when you go into your bedroom, there's a certain kind of vibe. When you go into the studio, different vibe. Same in the kitchen. Maybe when you go into your office, there's a different kind of energy that pulls you to be maybe more focused, more attentive, maybe more annoyed, depending on what kind of work you do and if you like it or not. But we can agree that every space has its own energy. And there are spaces that are more conducive to healing. There are spaces in which the energy is very clear and very light, and it can allow us to focus more on the work that we're doing and not be so distracted by the energy, the vibe, the memories that the place carries. This is another reason why I believe that if you're ever going to sit with the plant medicine in ceremony, it should be done in nature or in a place that is inside of nature, and a place that has been dedicated exclusively to the healing process. It's not somebody's basement, not somebody's house, kitchen, or just a warehouse, not somebody's cottage, but a place that is dedicated to doing this kind of work. When you do this, when you prepare properly with the guidance of someone that has experience, when you make sure that the person holding the space and leading the container has been trained and is equipped with all the tools and knowledge and especially experience about how to work with this plant, and when you're in a place that is sacred, that has been dedicated to the work with the medicine, then ayahuasca is not dangerous. You can have a very strong experience that can change your life, and it will, without the fear or the worry that your mind is going to suffer in the process. You can have that depth that you're seeking for, that clarity, that vision, that spiritual connection, spiritual remembering, without falling over stones that maybe are not for you to fall on. There are many things that can be easily fixed and avoided if we take the time and we have the patience to do things properly. So in the same way, if you're going to work with a surgical knife, you want to go to medical school, you want to have some training, you want to have an experienced surgeon guiding your first surgery, you want to understand a little bit better. You want to be in a hospital, so if you cut yourself or somebody else, there are people there to fix things, to bring things back to normal, to take care of the wound, to heal it. In the same way, ayahuasca is a very powerful tool that is dangerous if used in the wrong context, with the wrong intention, in the wrong set and setting. But other than that, like a surgery knife can be a tool for powerful healing, ayahuasca can be an experience, a medicine that changes your life. So, is ayahuasca dangerous? Yes, in some ways if not done properly. What are the risks of drinking ayahuasca in a safe place? The risk is that you lose and you let go completely of who you think you are, and you come in touch with a deeper reality of who you truly are that has always been there. The risk is that you start seeing life in a different perspective. It maybe doesn't match the life you've been living. The risk is that you go back home with a changed heart, a changed mind, and the people, the places, the habits that used to consume most of your time no longer pull you, no longer appeal to you. The risk is that we let go of our shame, our guilt, our regrets, and our fears, and that we no longer have excuses to pursue the life we actually want and we actually know we're here to live. The risk is that you change so much that people don't recognize you when you go back. Perhaps you don't recognize yourself. And that is a beautiful gift because you are freed from your story. The risk is that you're given a second chance at living life the right way. The risk is that you die to who you thought you were, to be reborn as who you truly are. And in the process, many things have to let go. Many thoughts, many emotions, many or a lot of the baggage that perhaps you carried. The risk is that you forgive everyone who wronged you. You no longer have anything against them or against yourself if you wronged someone or yourself. The risk is that you no longer will have excuses to not do what you really want to do, what calls to your heart. And the risk is that you will no longer feel disconnected from yourself, from others, from nature, and you will become responsible. And as a great teacher, Master Yoda, once said, with great power comes great responsibility. Ayahuasca will give you great power and also great responsibility. That is the risk, that your life changes. But it's a risk worth taking. It's a risk worth exploring and giving yourself the chance of considering that perhaps there's more to life than what you've been taught. And that perhaps there's a different kind of life, a different kind of you waiting for you on the other side. That is the real risk of doing ayahuasca. I hope that you're having a beautiful day. I love you.